Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host. And today I'm going to talk about a few interesting overtures that, in fact, 5 overtures that Donald Trump has made towards China since his election as the incoming president, which he was sworn in today as the 47th president of the United States. But prior to the swearing in, he has made several overtures towards China, which have come indeed as surprising because during the campaign, he was seen as rather hawkish on China, very hostile to China's trade practices, to China's goods, threatening to impose sanctions of more than 60% on Chinese goods across the board, swearing that not a single Chinese car would be bought in this country, and so on and so forth. And you can see his, shall we say, targeting of China by the kind of people he has selected in his foreign policy team, starting with Marco Rubio, who, by the way, was confirmed 99-0 in the Senate immediately after the swearing-in ceremony. So he has a Secretary of State now, Marco Rubio, who is a very well-known China hawk. In fact, all the foreign policy people have 3 characteristics. Number 1, they are anti-China. Number 2, they are anti-Iran, in fact, virulently anti-Iran. And number 3, they are amazingly pro-Israel. So, like, perhaps even more in favor of Israel than the United States itself, even though the administration talks about America first as the foundational principle of its ideology and its foreign policy. So given the fact that his entire team is so anti-China, why is Trump making these overtures towards China? Is he trying to reestablish the G2 condominium, which was discussed about long ago, where China and the US would establish a special relationship and they would manage the transition that is taking place in the international system, which more or less President Obama rejected, and then it was not pursued by either Donald Trump 1.0 or Joe Biden. So I will now talk to you about those 5 overtures that he made, which are quite surprising. So, but before that, do subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. And if you'd like to support Khanversation, join the channel and become its member. You can join the channel by pressing the button to join, which is right next to the button to subscribe. So the first thing that Donald Trump did after he got elected, and as his transition team started getting ready for his second term, he invited Xi Jinping to attend his inauguration. The first personal direct phone call made by Donald Trump was to Xi Jinping to invite him to come and attend. This is a major break from tradition. Americans rarely invite or never invite foreign dignitaries. In fact, this is the first time that we are witnessing foreign heads of states attending the inauguration of a US president. Usually it is only representatives from the embassies, but this time we see several. There is heads of states from Italy and Argentina, El Salvador, and other places that Trump had invited. And while Xi Jinping did not come, he sent his vice president, Han Zheng, to attend that ceremony. So a very high-powered, shall we say, committee essentially came, delegation from Beijing to attend Donald Trump's inauguration. But it was a major surprise that Donald Trump reached out. This is an example of, shall we say, whimsical but surprising, game-changing diplomatic gesture that Donald Trump made towards Xi Jinping. So I think that was the first surprise overture that he made towards China. The second overture that he did towards China was he called Xi Jinping, and they spoke about 4 days ago. And they talked about the necessity for them to work together to manage various things and competition. They discussed trade, they discussed tariffs. And I think that was, again, a signal from Donald Trump that he's really open to a new kind of relationship with China, and especially with Xi Jinping. We know that when Xi Jinping became president for life, Donald Trump was quite jealous. He admires strong men, people who are authoritarian leaders, who have these large military parades. This basically he loves people who have this imperial presidency aura around them. And he wished that there were parades, military parades, even in the United States, which is, again, not an American tradition. So the second thing that he did was to call Xi Jinping, which was also very unusual. He did not, I don't think he has made many phone calls since he got elected. He's received many phone calls from other heads of states. In fact, one of the earliest phone calls that he got was from the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, but it was Modi who called Trump to congratulate him. The third overture that he has made towards China, which has come as quite a surprise, is his bringing back TikTok. So TikTok was banned just a day ago. He tried to get the Supreme Court to essentially not uphold the decision that the government had made to ban TikTok, or that it should be sold to somebody, along with its algorithm, which the makers of TikTok were not really interested in doing that. But Trump surprised everybody by trying to get TikTok not banned, but when that didn't happen, he brought it back. So within 24 hours, TikTok was back on. And I think that's an amazing thing he has done for China, because there are lots and lots of myths and fears in America about TikTok. And basically they see TikTok as a Trojan horse, which is here to collect intelligence on behalf of the Chinese government and is spying on America and American politicians and American citizens, etc. And so there are lots of these assumptions about the role of TikTok. But the real reason why TikTok was being banned is because it is TikTok which has allowed Palestinian and pro-Palestine voices on social media, whereas everywhere else they are suppressed. On Facebook and even on X, they talk a lot about freedom of speech. But when it comes to Israel, America's values and morality becomes dead on all issues. America simply abandons its traditions and its values and its morality. And so all American social platforms, social media platforms, were suppressing Palestinian voices and allowing a lot of disinformation that was in favor of Israel. So it was only on TikTok where the Palestinian voices found freedom of speech. It's interesting that it was China that was allowing freedom of speech and expression to the pro-Palestinian voices, and they had a huge impact, as can be seen on especially in university protests that happened last year all across the country. So lots of people believe that it is because of TikTok that the next generation of America has understood the misery that the Palestinians experience under brutal Israeli occupation, which is funded, sponsored, protected, armed, and defended by the United States government. So bringing TikTok back was a major decision, clearly to appease China, because it is definitely going to upset and anger the pro-Israeli lobby. And his whole administration is completely influenced, not to mention billionaires like Miriam Adelson, etc., who have given him hundreds of millions of dollars. He's taken a lot of money from pro-Israeli billionaires. And so this decision to keep TikTok going would definitely upset them. So he's willing to take that risk in order to send a positive signal to China. The fourth overture that he has made towards China is, even I was a bit surprised that he did not impose any tariffs on China. He had promised 60%. And of course, he also did not impose immediate tariffs on Canada or Mexico. So that he had promised that on day one, he would impose tariffs on 60% on China and 25% on Canada and Mexico. He did not do that. What he did in his executive orders on day one is from the Oval Office is that he basically decided to establish some kind of committees to review these three countries to look at trade imbalances and trade deficits on the American side, and if there were some unfair trade practices. And then he would expect those committees after the review to recommend policies. So basically what he's done is he's given himself some time in which he can indulge in diplomacy. And through that diplomacy, he can then try and basically he's given himself time before taking an offensive step towards China. The fifth overture that he has made towards China is that he has expressed an interest to visit China within the first 100 days of his presidency. So all the since I think from Clinton onwards, nearly every president of the United States has visited China, and I think George H. Bush visited him quite early in his tenure. And Trump also visited in 2020, 2017 or 18. Anyway, but he does want to visit China very early on in the during his term, and I guess he wants to basically go to China and have a conversation with Xi Jinping before he imposes those tariffs that he has been threatening with. So I think he probably has some kind of a plan in his mind that he wants to discuss. He wants to make a deal with Xi Jinping, and if Xi Jinping plays ball, then we may not see the tariffs that he has been consistently threatening throughout his campaign. This is good news for other countries also, countries like India and maybe even Europe and Canada and Mexico, that if Trump doesn't impose tariffs on China, it will look very bad to the MAGA crowd if he just imposes them on Western countries and friendly countries. So I think that conversation, if he does have one in China with Xi Jinping, and whatever he does with the tariffs on China are going to be very fundamental, not only to his foreign policy, but the impact that it will have on global governance as well as global trade and the global economy. So these are the 5 overtures that I think Trump has made in the past 2 weeks, really, 2 or 3 weeks since he got elected in November. And I think it's interesting. So the assumptions that we had about Trump's China policy, even looking at his foreign policy team, may not have been accurate. So it will be interesting to see what more surprises President Trump brings to the international arena. I just also wanted to observe that Han Zheng, the vice president of China, who's here in Washington, had 2 very important meetings. One was with Vance, J.D. Vance, the vice president, and one was with Elon Musk, which increasingly everybody thinks is the second most powerful man in America today. So it is quite possible that through Elon Musk, China had a very strong voice that is constantly whispering in Donald Trump's ears, a voice that has given him $250 million, and using X continues to magnify Donald Trump's voice and Donald Trump's policy. So I think the China-Elon Musk relations is going to have a huge impact on US-China relations. I also want to share with you that tomorrow I'm going to be dropping this massive project on a new think tank in Washington, D.C. called the Ibn Khaldun Center. And the Ibn Khaldun Center is going to present you with 35 memos on world affairs and global policy written by 35 international scholars who come from more than 20 different countries. So truly a global perspective will be presented, and inshallah that initiative will come alive on the World Wide Web tomorrow. And so stay tuned in. As soon as it's ready, I will make an announcement obviously on my channel as well as in my social media. So I hope that you found these brief reflections on the foreign policy developments since Donald Trump got elected with regards to US-China relations. And if so, don't forget to subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and share this video with your social political network. Take care. I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan.